All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Filmocracy Talks, a bi-weekly open forum where we discuss topics filmmakers care about. I'm Paul Jun, CEO of Filmocracy, and today we are joined by filmmaker Scott Vickers. And Scott was born in Manchester, UK, and performed in both amateur and professional shows throughout his childhood. After performing arts college, Scott joined the Moulin Rouge, Paris, and went on to appear in the West End production of Chicago between 2004 and 2007. Scott then switched to screen acting and began studying film and photography. But the real reason we have him here is because he is an acclaimed director, writer, and producer whose 2019 feature film Matriarch sent waves through the industry in part because of its micro budget. The renowned LA-based sales agency Covert Media signed Matriarch, and Screen Daily featured Scott in their special European Film Market edition. So shortly after its release, Scott was signed by 3 Arts Entertainment in the US, and former president of 20th Century Fox Stephen Moore said that Scott is an exceptional talent with a highly unique and daring vision, and I completely agree. So, Scott, thanks so much for joining us on this episode. So why don't we just start off? I'd really like to talk about your previous career or careers, simply because your achievements are really quite astonishing and diverse. So just to summarize, you started out as a performer and did professional theater from 8 years old. Then you performed in the Moulin Rouge in Paris at 18. You were in Chicago. You left theater, landed a role in BBC drama River City, which you did for 4 years. And then, of course, you became a director and writer, producer. So why don't you just take it from there? Why did you move from all those other careers after being successful in each one? And how did you end up here?
Gosh, that's a good question. Why did I move on from, theatre? Obviously, I was a performer in theatre, so I wasn't at that point doing straight acting. I was, it was everything. It was an all-round thing: dancing, singing, acting. So, of course, there's a ceiling on that age-wise. So there's always that to look out for in theatre. But I think mainly the rigidity creatively of theatre wasn't enough for me. Don't know if you know much about theatre, but everything is very strict as far as what the lines are, what the choreography is. The director tells you exactly where to go, exactly what to do, and everyone must do that precisely. There's not a lot creatively you can give. There isn't real creative input especially for ensemble, which I was ensemble when I did Chicago in the West End. You have to do exactly what you're told. So I always, even though that show was probably the biggest show at the time, it was a great achievement, but I felt restricted creatively. So then I moved into acting on TV, which gives you a little bit more creative input, especially if you do leading parts, which I was lucky enough to do. And again, I felt limited by the lack of creative input. And even way before that, when I first stepped on a film set commercially, I wanted to be on the other side of the camera. I wanted that creativity side of it. I wanted to write and create my own stuff. So I think the reason why I kept moving on from those careers was the need to be more creative, to have that part of me fed, as it were.
And do you feel like you're achieving that now? Like this is the pinnacle of you being creative, or is there something beyond this that you're looking towards?
That's a good question too. I think writing and directing really is where I want to be. It's what I get most out of creatively. I think especially coming up with an idea, writing it on paper, and then helping in that whatever is on the paper coming into fruition on screen is something amazing. And yeah, I'm very happy with where I'm at as far as directing and writing. Yeah.
If you had to choose one of those things, which would it be?
Directing. Yeah. I think I love being in the thick of it with directing on the front line, sorting out problems and directing actors. It's something that I love. I love being on set. Whereas as a writer, most often you don't get to be on set. You know, you write the script and then you hand it off. Whereas I really want to be in that filmmaking process right on the front line. So directing is the one that takes the prize for me.
So while we're on that topic, let's talk about your most famous title, which is Matriarch. So I've heard through the grapevine that Matriarch was written in 3 weeks and shot in 12 days. Is it true?
All true. All true. Do you want the story of why that happened?
Yeah, of course.
So my business partner and I, Stephen Little, who's a producer, we were actually quite far down the road in making another film called Catalyst, a thriller. And we got to the point, we were through development and we were pretty much ready to get the first investment to start spending on pre-production. And we booked locations and all sorts of things were in place. And one of our main investors pulled out at the last minute. So we were in a situation where we had this time that we'd put aside to make a film. We'd geared up, we'd paid for things, and we just said, okay, what can we do with this time? And you know, Stephen kind of said, well, you're creative, you know, let's do something, let's make a film. Okay, I'll just go and write something then. So I've always had a real love for horror, and so basically one of the locations that we had for Catalyst was this incredible farm area with a farmhouse and grounds, and it was so remote and just incredible to look at. Straight away I just said, that is horror. It's got horror written all over it. Of course I had a few ideas. As a writer, I've always got ideas in the back of my mind, and I just went for it. I just wrote a script that fitted the budget, fit the location, and that was it. I wrote the first draft in 3 weeks. After that, we went into pre-production, and I continued to edit, obviously, as went, but the actual first draft was done in 3 weeks. And we had such a limited budget, we had to shoot it within 2 weeks. So we had 12 days to shoot it. So that was the challenge, and yes, it's all true. That's what happened.
And is horror like your preferred genre, or it's just you just had that setting and you felt like it had to be a horror movie, so that's what you went with?
Yeah, I just like good movies. I'm not one of these filmmakers who sticks to a genre. I just love anything that grabs you, grips you, and is a great story, whatever genre. So no, it's not specifically horror that I go to, but I have had, you know, times in my life where I've been quite obsessed with horror. But I think I've done that with all the genres, just gone through different genres at different times of my life. But I'm not stuck to one, no.
So during this period of your life, some terrible things were happening to you, and that's why you decided to do horror? So
actually, no, I was inspired by a story at the time, and me and my wife also were thinking about having a baby. So I don't know whether that had something to do with the storyline. If you've seen Matriarch, you'll understand why I've said that. But it was kind of at the same time as reading the press. It was actually an American story about a woman who was held captive for years, something like 30 years, and she had children with her captor. And that really struck me. You know, it was such a terrifying thought to think of what this woman went through, that inspired part of the story of Matriarch.
I think that is an excellent introduction to Matriarch. And so what we're going to do now is we're actually going to watch the trailer so people can actually see what we're talking about. So let's pull it up right now.
Matt, look out!
Are you okay? Baby okay?
We're okay. Anything?
No. It's like a farm or something over there.
How far?
Half a mile?
This is private land!
I know, I'm really sorry, but we are totally stranded.
Can't help you.
Look, my wife is heavily pregnant.
Boy or girl?
Boy.
Well, why didn't you say? Agnes, we've got guests.
What a blessing to have you here.
We are so grateful, but we just need to find somewhere with a phone.
The trouble is the storm blew down all the lines. All the roads are blocked.
I'm very proud of my boys. God didn't grant me the gift of childbirth. We adopted.
It's not just creepy. That's the missing girl. They killed the whole family. We need to go now.
No.
What have you done with him?
He's gone to a much better place. Ba-be-do-be-do.
Give me my baby! My baby! Why would you do this?
Your world's infected. We are the light.
I have not watched that in years, but that is...
Oh, it's funny because that was the original trailer as well, because Lionsgate cut their own trailer.
No, we don't want Lionsgate's
So I've
trailer.
not seen that. It's nice to watch the original one.
This is the one that made the money, okay?
Yeah.
So for the people that are watching, it was a company that I used to work for that picked up sales for Scott's film, and that's how we got connected. And I remember watching it and we're like, how is this made for? I mean, you can tell everyone now how much you made it for, but we could not believe it. You know, such a powerful and gripping and way higher production value than you would expect for how much you spent. But if you want to share, you can share the budget, and then we can dive into that.
Yeah. It was £30,000 for the actual production, which is about $35,000 to actually make it. Yeah, so not a lot of money.
I mean, there are shorts that were more expensive than, like 3 times as expensive as that sometimes.
Yeah.
Did you feel like having that constraint forced you to be more creative or more, I don't know, like, is this product possibly better than if you had a bigger budget in this form?
Gosh, that's another good question. It really did make us creative. I mean, we were coming up with so many different ways to shoot this thing in the absence of money, where we didn't have the money to spend on something. What is a creative way what can we do creatively to make this work, because we sure as hell can't pay for it. So yeah, as far as production and making the thing, we were extremely creative. You know, if we'd had more money, damn right I would have spent a lot longer on getting certain shots, looking at playback. I didn't even look at playback. We didn't even have time to look at playback. You know, we were like, next shot.
Wow.
Literally, it was crazy speed. And it's funny because I remember when the first contracts came back from the lawyers, they came back, it was like, there's a mistake on the budget page. They've missed a zero off. It was brilliant. I always remember that day. No, we haven't missed a zero off.
That's amazing.
That's the full budget right there. No one could believe it, which was good.
Can you share an example of something creative that you did, that you thought of on the fly to sort of cut corners and make your budget go longer?
Yeah. So I wanted a specific shot in the movie that took the audience down into the grave. We didn't have a jib, we didn't even have a crane, we had nothing. Everything was handheld because we just didn't have the time to do setups. So we didn't have a dolly, we didn't have a track, nothing like that. We just didn't have time. And I really wanted this shot, and we just couldn't make it work with anything. So what I did was I got a gimbal with a GoPro, and I fixed it on the end of a big long piece of wood, fixed the gimbal on top, and connected the piece of wood to like a little like a bolt running through, and just tilted the whole piece of wood down, and the gimbal allowed the GoPro to kind of stay level. And so that we created a makeshift jib basically, and that's how I got the shot going down into the grave. And it was a great shot, but it was done on a GoPro.
Amazing.
And a piece of wood. And I did that on my own, like after the shoot. So, you know, it wasn't even like we'd done it during the shoot. Another thing that we had to come up with was the SFX. We had an SFX guy come on, and he didn't turn up for one of the days. And it was one of the days where we had blood coming out of someone. And so I filled a balloon with blood and actually popped it with a knife to create the effect. So really some real old school stuff going on there, and you just have to do things like that to get the job done. But you know, there's always a risk with those types of things. And for example, with that situation with the blood leaking out, of course, you know, we had one go at it because of the costume. So it's, you know, it can be really hairy sometimes, and you have to get certain things right, you know, because you've only got one go at it.
I always love hearing stories like that, where you have to like be creative and problem solve, you know, because it's almost like the best stories that people tell you are when things don't go perfect, like something happens, like that's why you're watching, that's why you care. And so all of these like moments that you're having that are like the history of Matriarch, it's so fascinating. Like if you had like $1 million to make that movie, probably not that many interesting stories would have come out of it.
No, absolutely not. No. And it was the most incredible. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, if not the hardest thing I've ever done, but also the most incredible thing. And the thing that was most incredible about it was that all our heads of department came onto the film stepping up from roles. So, you know, our first AD was a third or a second AD. So, and Donna, her name was, she stepped up to be a first AD. And our heads of department for costume and production, art, everything, they all stepped up. But one of the things that we were really keen to do with the film was that we wanted people to come onto it who really wanted to be there, not just because of stepping up in the career, but we wanted to know that they really liked the script. So we sent it out in a way without saying really much about the job and what it entails. We really sent it out and said, do you like the look of this film? And we took people onto the project that loved the script. And that's what really galvanized us. That's what put the team together. We all loved what we were doing and we loved the idea. And it made for an incredible crew. And people just worked so hard to get it done because we were just united by that, by the fact that we loved the script. And I think that's a recommendation to any filmmakers that are maybe doing it for a small budget or wanting to, do their first project, is to create that unity and get a crew together that really believe in it. That is just so powerful.
There's an interesting question in the chat where somebody is asking, now that you've sort of proven that you can do so much with so little, do you find that that is the expectation now? Like, since you're able to do it for so cheap, like here's just like $20,000, go make another Matriarch sequel.
Yeah, I have had a lot of people saying, can you do a Matriarch with this? Can you do a Matriarch with this script? And they'll send me a script, and it's like an adventure script with 20 locations. So like, no. Part of the reason why we got Matriarch done was because I wrote it to fit what we had. So it's not just the fact that someone like me or my crew can be creative and do things and make a certain amount of money go as far. It depends very much on what the project is. You have to design it around your budget if it's a tiny budget.
So interesting. I want to talk about the other cast members for a moment because they were stellar, particularly the older couple. And if I remember correctly, they are not professional actors. Is that right?
Well, the farmer, Alan, he was an amateur actor. He did it, as a hobby. Julie, who played Agnes, she's a professional actor, an incredible actor. But Alan was someone who came into. I ran a film and TV acting class when I was in Scotland, and he was one of my pupils, one of my students. Very natural and just excellent, very authentic, and that was partly how he kind of got his role on the film. But also it's his farm. So he was getting involved with the other film, Catalyst, the thriller, because he wanted to make films. And so it was his farm that we shot Matriarch on. So he was the farmer on his own.
That's amazing. Yeah, I remember when I was watching that film and those two characters showed up, it immediately just like everything got really serious when they showed up.
And really
weird and creepy. So maybe we could talk a little bit about after you finish the film and it's edited and you're ready, what was the next step for you? Because I obviously know what happened when we took your film on, but I don't really know the in-between time. Maybe you were doing the festival circuit or reaching out to people on your own. But how was that for you? Because before Matriarch's critical success, I imagine it was much more difficult.
Yeah. So it was interesting actually, because Matriarch, it kind of blends two genres. It blends thriller and horror. And we found with the festivals, we always kind of got through the rounds, but at the end, with some of the festivals we wanted to get into, we were told by the non-horror festivals, we were told this is way too horror, you need to go to a horror festival. And by the horror festivals, we were told it's not horror enough. So we kind of landed in the middle a little bit. And so that was difficult at first, and we weren't sure which way we should go with it. But what happened was we did a screening in London, and at the screening was the ex of the former CEO, no, the former president, sorry, of 20th Century Fox. He saw the film and loved it. He was amazed by the budget as well, and he said, "This is great. I'm going to send this to someone." And then within a day, I got a call from Covert. Jim Harvey called me from Covert and said, "We love this movie. We want to sign it. You're on. Here's the contract." I mean, it happened within a day. It was actually incredible. And from there, things just really started to happen. We had lots of festivals asking for it, asking to screen it. We went to EFM and Lionsgate took it. It got a bit more difficult from that point because we had a lot of festivals then wanting to screen it, but Lionsgate wanted to take a bit more control over it, so we couldn't actually go to the festivals after that, unfortunately. But they allowed us to do a small festival in Scotland because of where we filmed it, which was great. We won Best Film there, and out of that we got a theatrical deal with Cineworld, a limited theatrical deal, and it did 2 weeks, a 2-week run. Really interesting fact about it. We went into the cinema, into the theatre at the same time as the film Slaughterhouse Rules by Simon Pegg, and when it had finished the run, for some reason we also came off at the same time as Slaughterhouse Rules, and the distribution manager called me and said, "I have to call you because you've sold more seats, more tickets than Slaughterhouse Rules. In fact, we sold 3 times more seats than Slaughterhouse Rules." So I looked up the budget, and the budget something like, I don't know, 3 or 5 million or something. I was like, oh my god, yes! A £30,000 movie just outsold Slaughterhouse Rules at 3
Amazing.
or 5 million. So I was very pleased about that.
So do you feel like you've made it now? Do you feel like people know you now, or respect the name now?
No, I'm not at that level yet. I wish I was. I mean, I do get a lot of respect from within the industry, which is amazing. But Matriarch was never really marketed. It was never pushed. Of course, we don't have any stars in our film. We don't have any big backing as far as marketing. Of course, Lionsgate took it on, but they didn't put a great big marketing budget into it. So I've still got a lot of things, to achieve. And also, I want to make a movie where it's not all about fitting around the budget. I'm not saying I can't wait to do a multi-million-pound budget, but at the same time, I'd like to do a film that is all about making the film and not having to worry about the other stuff, the budget and that stuff. So no, I've got a long way to go yet. It was my first feature film, and I'd love to do a lot.
Do you feel
more.
like your foot at least is in the door now with Lionsgate?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, my foot is definitely in the door from just making a feature film, and being able to sell it to Lionsgate was a massive achievement. I'm not saying that to be pretentious. It was really hard. So anyone that can do that, I really take my hat off to them, because it is not easy. Just making a film, just making a feature film is so difficult anyway. So to then get it out there and get it sold is just so hard. So it's definitely put me in a great position now. I get a lot of scripts coming to me, a lot of offers for things. So it's great. It's a great start.
Yeah, I mean, with Filmocracy, we're always trying to help filmmakers who, for one reason or another may struggle because they don't have connections, or maybe they're just not as talented as you need to be, and you're kind of the dream path trajectory from going from somewhere where you're not well known, this is your first feature film, and then this cascade of events happens where now you are connected to a mini major studio, and everyone, I think all the filmmakers want this to happen to them, but I'll tell everybody who's watching this now that you're probably not as talented as Scott, but you may get there one day. And so it's a craft, right? You've been cultivating this craft, creativity, from such a young age, and it's not that all of a sudden you just made a feature and it was good. It was many years of things going into what you've become. And you still have a long way to go, obviously. So let's move on to you, because somebody wants to know, what are the 3 films that you love the most? And please say the first 3 that come to mind.
Oh my gosh. First 3 that come to mind. Oh god, Fight Club, The Matrix, Goodfellas. Oh my god.
No, that's it. That's it. You gotta stop now. It has to be 3.
Does it have to be 3? Ah!
But you could say why. Oh,
Back to the Future.
Number 4.
I've got to get Back to the Future in there. Childhood.
I watched that the other night, and it actually still holds up surprisingly well.
Stands up, doesn't it?
But the first one you
Yes.
said was Fight Club. Is there something else here that we should unpack? Is there some history of violence in your childhood? Maybe you have a friend that you think is real. He's the one who's the brains behind the operation.
Oh gosh, none of those things. The way he tells a story, Fincher. There's something special about him. The way he tells a story is so visual, and I know that Fight Club is narrated. I know there's a narration there, but it was so immersive. It was such an immersive film, and very interesting as well, because it didn't do well at first, Fight Club. It didn't do well in the box office at all. But I just think it's just such an incredible film on so many levels. And I don't want to go too far into it, but it was just a great blend of visual storytelling as well as a narrative, literally telling the story through a voiceover and a narrative, and just very, very well done, cleverly done. And it was just, for some reason, it had a big impact on me. I don't know whether it was my age. I think I must have been 19 or 20 when it came out. It's a long time ago now, isn't it? It was around 2000, I think. So it was 20 years old, which is hard to believe that Fight Club is 20 years old. But I was just engrossed. He just captivated me on so many levels. And mainly, his storytelling is just unique and brilliant. I'm a big fan of David Fincher.
Well, we're all big fans of David Fincher as well here. I know Jose is a huge fan of his. Yeah. Jose is our co-producer who's usually on, but sitting this one out now. I would like to ask you about Interact and why you set it up. So maybe you could explain to the listeners what Interact is, and then go from there.
Great, I will do. Well, Interact is a resource for actors and artists, and it is a resource to connect them to directors and acting veterans in the industry for coaching and training. It's mainly something that I wish I had when I started out as an actor. So to give you an example, when an actor gets an audition, it usually is within a couple of days, the next day, and now of course with self-taping, it's often, can you do it today or tomorrow and send it. And the thought, speaking as an actor, if I went back, to when I was an actor, the ability to get a session with a director before going to an audition would have just been gold. And so it's always been an idea of mine to offer that to actors, and offer it in a very easy way to access. So via the web, our website, which we haven't launched yet, we'll be launching soon, but they can book directly through the website, automatically get a coaching session wherever they are in the world with an active director. Myself, I'm going to be coaching there as well, and training, and there's other directors and some very well-known actors as well offering a service. And we also offer something called Interact Mindset, which looks at the inner part of what an actor needs to do to be at their best in the moment. So we look at things like self-doubt and anxiety and things that limit them in the moment. My experience of acting, and also being on the other side of the camera and auditioning many actors, so many talented actors do not get to be at their best, don't get to show their talent because of these limited mindsets, whether it be self-doubt, anxiety, all those things. And I just find it a shame that happens. And so we wanted to offer actors a service to look at that and allow them to get past it and be at their best, and let their talent shine through. And so this is something we've put together, and the mindset side of it has been developed partly by my wife, who is an expert in that field, but it's usually reserved for big business and boardrooms and athletes. So this is really the first time that this type of work, and it's a very specific part of psychology, it's the first time it's going to be offered really to actors, as far as we know.
Fantastic.
So it's really exciting.
A lot of giving back to the community, and I know that's important to you. And maybe from here we can ask you for maybe some tips or guidance that you may have for not the actors, because I don't think so many actors will be watching this, but definitely filmmakers who are definitely looking up to you now as an example of how to make your way through the industry. Like, what would you tell those people?
I think it's really important to make stuff wherever you can. Make a short, try and make a feature with whatever limited tools that you have. So whatever your limitations are, just try and go for it. I think it's really important to collaborate with like-minded people that are also wanting to break through as well. Something that looking back, I probably would change is that I tended to want to try and do it all myself, which is impossible in film. You have to collaborate. So I think it's important to find those other people that you can get together with and support your dream. And I think it's important as well to be at a similar level, because then there's that uniting drive then that can drive you forward. So really surround yourself with those types of people, and never stop learning your craft. I'm in love with filmmaking. I just love it. I love scripts and writing. For fun, I will just read a script of a film that I've seen, while I'm having lunch or something. It's just, I'm always reading scripts and understanding structure and how it works and similarities between different films and genre. I'm just in love with it, really. And it's so important, if it's something you want to do, that you're in love with it, because then it's easy to do something that you love doing. You're not reliant on an outcome. You just want to do the thing that you love to do. So that's key. So if there is an area of filmmaking that you just love, if you're an editor, if you sit down and you just love to edit things, then stick to that, if that's the part of it. And it's just really, that's a really important part of it, I think. And I just love to do that, and I love to direct.
Okay, so one last thing, which is, what is next for Scott Vickers? What are you working on? Where are we going to see you next? Maybe on some billboards, at the Academy Awards? What is it?
Oh, wow. I'm working on a lot of stuff at the moment. Of course, COVID-19 changed the landscape a lot. And I actually went into development because of that, into writing and developing projects. I have gone back to my original film called Catalyst, which is an apocalyptic thriller, action. And I developed that a bit further, and there's a huge amount of interest in that. So that's a possibility to shoot in 2021. I'm working on a pilot, which is a mockumentary actually that follows a group of actors around that think they're A-list actors, but they're not. But it's a bit fake it till you make it. It's very funny. Some of the writers sent me a script, and I was just, this is brilliant. It's just so funny. And something as well that the wider world don't get to see much about what an actor goes through. Of course, we've seen certain films about Hollywood actors behind the scenes and what they go through, but an actor that's up and coming, or even not, even lower than that, that's just trying to get anything. Very, very interesting project. Really looking forward to doing that. And there's a few other projects in development as well, but I'm really busy development-wise, and mainly I just can't wait to get back on set. So that's my main thing. Development's great, and I love working with scripts, but I just want to be back on set. So whichever one of those comes first.
We've got some good vaccines coming up, so let's hope that those are actually real. Yeah.
Hopefully
awesome.
We'll all be back.
Well, we are running out of time. I think that'll do it for this edition of Filmocracy Talks. I hope you all had as much fun and learned as much as I did. Thanks again to our special guest, Scott Vickers. You can follow him at Scott R. Vickers on Twitter. And remember to join us every 2 weeks as we discuss topics that you all care about the most. And by all means, if anyone has a particular topic you want to discuss, you can shoot our co-producer Jose an email. His email is jose@filmocracy.com, and we'll leave that in the side chat.